Hello and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast, the show where we review oddball movies, have oddball discussions, and occasionally take questions from you, the oddball fans.
I'm Tony Southcott.
And I'm Albert Berg, and the oddball movie we're talking about this week is very timely. It's coming out. Man, the people who released this movie are geniuses, Tony. We're talking about the Purge election year. They put it in theaters right before the primaries hit, when all of that was just kicking off and exploding, and they get it on DVD in Redbox like a week before the main election happens.
It's not even a week before, it's 3 days. It was October 28th whenever they released this.
Is the election
so they
on the
get
5th
the Halloween
or the 8th?
What's that?
I thought the election was on the 8th.
Oh, it is. For some reason I was thinking they're getting the Halloween crowd with a horror movie. They're getting the election crowd like in a week. Like, it is just perfect timing on their part. And
it is a really interesting movie. So this is the third in the franchise. I personally have not seen either of the other two. I picked it purely for just sort of the serendipity of it coming out at the same time as the election. However, Tony, you've seen the other two.
I've seen one of the other two. I have not seen the Purge Anarchy. I was
Okay,
planning on watching it and went to a Halloween party instead.
Well, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should have stayed home and watched movies, Tony. What are you doing getting out and meeting actual people?
Well, I probably should have. I was the only one who showed up for said party.
That's not a party, Tony. That's just you being sad
that
at
was
a
a
restaurant.
gathering of 3 total people, like, chilling. I wasn't in a costume, you know.
You don't get to go to Whataburger and sit at the big round table and call it a party.
We don't have Whataburgers out here.
Well, when you do, you should sit at the big round table by yourself. If you have a night shift, that's the best. So this is the third in a series of movies that takes place in an alternate reality where America has enacted a law where once a year for... Is it 12 hours? I think it's 12 hours. It's a full night. They don't let them go all day as well. For a full night, all crime is legal. The only crime that you see in the movie is murder, but the idea is that everybody's got these pent-up anger issues and sort of this rage that builds inside of them, and like, this is a release valve. This is one night a year where you kind of get it all out. And they've done... I know from hearing about it that they've sort of taken a trajectory with this series where the first movie was about like a home invasion style thing, and really the Purge as a plot device was only there just so they couldn't call the police. It's like, you're in your nice suburban white neighborhood, but people can come into your house because it's this one special night and the police aren't going to come, and oh well. And that was sort of a basic home invasion movie, or am I mischaracterizing that, Tony? Because you're the one who's seen that.
It's pretty close. It's got some other things going on with it as far as like the types of people that are doing the home invasion, the reasons why they were able to get into the house, all of that sort of thing. So it's a little more complicated than that, but that's it at its base.
And then the second one sort of, I think we had sort of a Ouija situation here where the first one was relatively poorly received, but a lot of people went to see it, and I think were really intrigued in the concept. I think critics didn't like it as much, and so the studio said, well, we made a lot of money, we didn't put a lot of money into it, let's try to make a sequel but do some different things. And so the sequel went out on the streets, and again, I haven't seen this, but that's sort of the synopsis that I've heard, and you get a lot more of sort of the more global, not global, but the wider scale of the Purge as this thing that affects people, and this anarchy that's running wild, and these people running around in masks on the streets. And this third one kind of takes it to the next level again, where we're still getting a street level view, but now we're looking at the politics behind the Purge and people questioning whether this is really a good thing and why is the Purge in place. And this political party, the new founding fathers that appear to be in charge of everything, they're the ones really pushing the Purge. And this movie posits that the reason that these people are so in love with this Purge idea is because it winnows out the poorer population and reduces crime and makes life a lot easier for the rich who can afford to, get into a really secure bunker and hire lots of security guards and things that, and also in this movie, I don't know if this is something that was in the other movies, but they did have sort of restrictions on killing political leaders.
Yeah, you couldn't be like a class 10 person, which is basically senators, presidents, that sort of thing, and get killed. Like, you were protected if you had that status. It was the only target that wasn't on the table.
And so this movie takes place in an election year, and one of the candidates running is saying, hey, this purge thing sucks. She's been through the purge. Her family had been all killed in front of her, so she's got personal stakes there. We see that in the first scene of the movie. And she's running...
the mommy picks situation.
Yes. She's running against the new Founding Fathers Party guy, who is just sort of smarmy and like, the purge is the best thing, and why don't you guys love it? And it's sort
Purge
of...
and purify.
Purge and purify. It's a very much like every institution rolled into one. You've got government, you've got sort of the patriarchy, you've got religion, and it's all sort of right there in this one single thing that all exists together.
The iconography is looking a little bit Nazi-esque if the Nazis use baby blue for their coloring. Like, there's a lot of, I just get the feeling the writers really don't like Republicans.
I got the feeling this did not feel like a hateful movie so much, despite the fact that this is taking place in it's an election year, and this guy is kind of, he's the guy running against a woman. It didn't feel hateful to me so much. It felt like they were trying to present a simplified view of politics as they see them. Maybe this is exactly how they see them. It felt the politics in this movie are very simplistic. The female candidate in this election is pure and good and wonderful, and nothing is wrong with her at all. And she
looks good in thick rimmed glasses, that sort of thing.
Yes. And the male candidate is, evil incarnate and the worst thing ever. And I think that you could argue that one of those things is true of our candidates, but maybe not both things.
Yeah.
So this all is juxtaposed with another sort of a very lower class. You have the upper struggle of politics and people fighting within the political system. And then the other story that intertwines with this is this guy who owns a deli. Black guy. I was going to say lower class. He does own a business, so he's not like on the streets homeless type.
He's low enough class that he can't afford to pay his insurance, his purge night insurance, which I imagine would be insanely expensive.
And they raise it on him on the night of the purge, which is another one of those things that's like, really? Like, that seems like there would be a law against that, but okay. He can't afford his insurance, and he is sort of counting on this candidate to get elected and hopefully repeal the purge. And in the process of the purge night coming through, the new Founding Fathers pass a law that says anybody can be killed, even your level 10 political figures, specifically because they want to put a hit out on this female candidate who refuses to go to a safe house. She says, I'm going to live, although she doesn't refuse to fortify her house with money that probably poor people don't have, but she doesn't want to look weak in front of her constituents. She doesn't want to look like one of these people that runs away and hides from the purge because she has the money. So she stays in her house, and this is, I was going to say, this is not really a spoiler because it happens pretty early in the movie. It's sort of the premise, but they do break into the house anyway.
That's all over the trailers.
I just wanted people to know that, like, this is not like the whole movie. We're not telling you the whole movie. We're just sort of setting things up. They break into the house.
A deviation from Blumhouse too, because like Blumhouse is all about that, like in one room or in one place type thing. You actually get all over the city in this.
Well, I think they did that with the first movie. I think that you got, the in one house, in one room style one with the first one, and they sort of proved that it could make money, and they said, okay, well, we know that people will come see this. Maybe we can invest a little bit more. They're not complete cheapskates. They just sort of, they're very careful and very smart with their investments in my mind.
Especially considering how much money The Purge has made. It was one of the most profitable movies of the last 5 to 10 years.
They're all. I would love to see a breakdown of profitability on Blumhouse's sheets, for each candidate, each movie that they put out, because I would imagine while they're not making probably as much money overall as some other studios for the amount that they invest, they got to be one of the most percentage-wise profitable studios that's out there.
Yeah, you see them making 10 times their budget on almost every movie they put out.
Anyway, this is not the Blumhouse podcast. The senator who's running for president, Charlie Rowan is her name. I've just pulled up IMDb if you're wondering why I've suddenly started using people's names.
I did too. I'm not gonna lie.
She goes on the run with her security consultant, Leo Barnes, who's a character from the previous movie, who there's some stuff that's alluded to in this. I don't think you have to see the previous movie to get what's going on, but there are characters that show up that feel like they were established earlier, and they get reestablished as sort of like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing and he's pretty tough, and this lady who's riding around on an ambulance, she's probably did something in the last movie, but we don't really, like, they don't belabor the point. They just sort of say, hey, here these guys are, and move on. In particular, there seems to be something from the previous movie with Frank Grillo's son, but you haven't seen that, have you, Tony?
I have not. I have seen the first one, and he was not in that one. However, a character that comes along later, Dante Bishop, he was in all of the. He's the only one that's been in all three, I believe.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
He was the guy that gets let into the house during the first Purge movie, and then he becomes like the advocate against the Purge in the second and third.
Huh. Okay. That's cool. This movie, you'll notice, Tony, people who have listened to the podcast for any length of time know that I kind of don't like the sort of violence as the solution in a movie. I mean, not that I don't like an action movie now and then, but especially this sort of, I very much don't like revenge, and this is not specifically about revenge, but it is about the idea that you can sort of work through your emotional issues just by killing people.
Yeah.
And
doesn't it kind of contradict itself at the very beginning of the movie, because the two black girls are in the store stealing, and they said that almost all crime has been eliminated because the Purge lets people get it out?
We could get into whether or not the Purge as a concept makes any sense. I think we could argue that line, right, the idea that crime has been eliminated because of the Purge, might be a party line from the New Founding Fathers, that they are using propaganda in this particular instance, and they're saying, hey, crime is all gone because look, and maybe there has been a decrease in crime. She doesn't end up stealing the candy bars.
That's true.
Because she knows somebody during the Purge. So I think they're talking about violent crime more specifically.
Probably.
But you could definitely, it's not a perfect, it's clearly not a perfect system. That's why people are protesting it. It's not working out. So
it was also kind of prescient that the reason why people were protesting wasn't so much because of the Purge, but because a bunch of emails or communications came out saying that it was targeted at the lower classes. It's like they saw that email scandal coming before it hit.
Well, that email scandal was going for a while.
Before it got huge.
It's anyway. Not new yet. But also that the email scandal in this gets put on the male character. But was that, I didn't catch that plot point. I thought people just put it together and were saying like, hey, this is clearly affecting poor people more.
It was during the news reports at the beginning of the movie. Like they were saying that some communications got leaked and that they were able to confirm that that's why they were having the Purge. Or one of the main reasons for it. So they wouldn't have to take care of the lower classes. Because if you are lower class, you're a lot more likely to purge and get purged.
Right. Because you're going to have, I would say, more access to, guns. Well, maybe not more access, but, you're sort of in that, that culture. A lot of redneck types are going to have a lot of guns. You got your gang member types in inner cities who are going to have guns. You've got all these people, and probably those types are more prone to violence in one way or another. And
I like getting to explore like some of the dynamics that happen there, because that if there was such a thing as the Purge, you would see some of the stuff. Gangs would end up planning some sort of like battlefield where things could go on, or like that one weird one with all the guys like swinging axes and broadswords at each other, just having like a full-on fight at what looks like a biker bar.
They do. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think where you're going with this is they do a great job in the middle of showing these two main plots of showing like a lot of the ramifications of the Purge. You see what they talk about, murder tourism, because this is only in the U.S. The Purge is not worldwide. So people come to the U.S. to kill people on this night.
Yeah, it's always the Nords.
And I did love, there was that one scene where they get captured by people in, Abraham Lincoln masks, and I think there was a Statue of Liberty mask, but they were all foreigners, which kind of...
Like, America is the greatest, as they're, like, trying to kill him.
It was a weird, like, anti-immigration moment in this movie that's, like, relatively liberal, I would say. But I get kind of why you would go there, because they set those characters up, and I think if you don't pay that off a little bit, it feels disingenuous. But it does, you get those guys, you get the, like you said, there was the fight club that the guys put together where you could fight with swords, the gangs, obviously, the spouses killing their husbands. I mean, the woman just sitting there on the bench as her husband burns. They just drive by that, but that's just a really powerful moment that they put in there to say, hey, this isn't just localized. It isn't just these people dealing with this. It's going on everywhere.
There would be so many nervous spouses on Purge night. Holy crap.
You think?
Yeah. Just like anyone that's gotten a little too far in the past and they've got a free pass at it. It's like, let's have separate safe rooms.
This is a movie series, even though this is the first one that I've seen. I think that I would like to see a prequel to how we got here, because they do go into a little bit of, the history, that this has been going on for 21 years. So it's happened, I would guess, in the early 90s. Would that be around the right time?
Somewhere in that range. Maybe late 80s would be
2016.
Yeah, I'm old. I still think it's like 2002 sometimes.
Yeah, 20 years ago is 1996, Tony. So 95, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, is around 21 years. 95 is when this got instituted, and it would be neat to go back to that and see what happened. What the country must have been tearing itself apart in the Purge universe for them to... I mean, they have to amend the Constitution to make this happen, Tony.
That's not an easy thing to do.
It's not. And I was reading some things about, like, the technicalities of this movie. If the Constitution was amended to make this happen, then it's going to be real difficult to unamend it. I mean, the new founding fathers have a lot of power. Even if this woman gets elected by a majority, you have to have 2/3 of the state legislatures approve an amendment to the Constitution, including removing an amendment.
Well, the amendments thing, it's definitely going to be difficult. There's just going to be, like, how many members of Congress and everything that aren't at certain Purge events.
Oh, are you positing the possibility that there are other members of Congress who got killed in this as well because of the repeal?
I think that there's a pretty good shot of that, especially with some of the stuff that's, like, on the walls in that place. They're mainly focused on one area, but I also think about the whole, like, designated survivor situations and all that.
Yeah, I would assume that some people would even leave the country.
Yeah, and I would totally be out of the country for that. Like, I'm the type that's like, yeah, I have my guns, I'll protect myself and everything, but it's like, yeah, not on Purge night. I'm just gonna be gone.
I do think that the movie does a great job of setting everything up and paying it off. There's a lot of things at the end of the movie, which I won't give details for, but there are things that happen at the end of the movie that are very well set up at the beginning of the movie that you don't know are setting up exactly what's going to happen at the end. It's very economical storytelling, which I liked a lot.
It's one of the things that critics talk about with this movie, where it's like the premise is absolutely insane and probably shouldn't even be made into a movie, but it's executed in such a way that it tells a captivating story. It's not highfalutin. It's not anything that's like really going to be like, I don't know. It might hit like crazy cult status over the next few decades, but it just feels like it shouldn't be a story that was told this well.
I think that if you're going to criticize the premise, I mean, there's so many movies that you're going to have to take down with that. There's a lot of movies that, like, okay, yes, it does not happen that way in real life. Maybe creating a whole alternate universe is a little bit much, but I mean, I enjoy the Mission Impossible movies. There's not, like, real spies don't do anything like that. They don't have all of those
real
wacky
spies
gadgets.
aren't like James Bond either.
Right. And I don't watch those movies and think real espionage isn't like this. This isn't real espionage. Come on. But
Real
I think you
espionage
have to,
seems like it's kind of boring most of the time.
it's a lot of data mining and sort of listening to people talk and torturing people and getting bad information. It's not, I think that a lot of times they actually don't have nearly as much information as the movies make them out to have, where there's a lot of guesswork.
They find that perfect dossier that explains like the entire plans for like a whole country's invasion thing, but it fits into like a manila envelope.
Yeah. But it did. I think that there was a strength in the story. There's a really real strength in the characters, who they take a lot of time to set up and give their own moments. Not everybody is like super deep, but every person in this movie gets really well established in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, Leo Barnes, the Frank Grillo character, is there at a debate that they're having, which is sort of weirdly set up, but. At the end, the senator goes out into the crowd and she's going to shake people's hands. And he's like, all right, we're going. And you can tell that he's on top of things, that he's like a man of action, but he's not going to lose his head. He's not going to use unnecessary violence. He's there to take care of things. And, the Joe Dixon character, the guy who owns the shop, you get him set up with his interaction with the girls who are trying to steal. And, you find out that he's been there for a real long time, and that he's sort of against the purge, but that he's not, he doesn't have any faith in politics. And the other kid does have faith in politics. And he's like, yeah, the senator's going to do great things. And all of these things feel like they come out of a place of character and are, again, really efficient in how they put all that together.
Yeah. Even the characters you only get small glimpses of in this one that were established in the other movies, like, their motivations make sense. You understand why they're trying to do what they're doing. There's only a few things that felt out of place for me, like the whole random corpse pickup that's happening during the purge. It's like you can wait till
Lainey
the morning.
Rucker character, played by Betty Gabriel, her driving around in the ambulance.
No, I'm talking about whenever they're randomly on the street and there's just a truck going by that's like, give us your purge dead. And it's just like a truck with a bunch of bodies on it. It's like, that would wait till morning. You wouldn't want to be out in the purge driving a truck for like city services. Keep the purge clean. Just little things that like snuck in that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's just like being nitpicky about it.
I thought about that, but I wondered like if this is about a no consequences night, and that's why a lot of people wear masks. So not only is there no legal consequences, but people don't know that it was you. Yeah. Although a lot of people just end up taking the mask off anyway, like, it was me! I'm the one shooting your store. But
it seems like it's kind of like a Halloween style thing, and that people are wearing masks, but you're not really trying to mask yourself.
But I thought that the Purge Dead truck actually made sense, because you don't want to be like picking up those bodies. Assuming there are a lot of them, you don't want to just have bodies strewn around the streets next day when everybody goes back to work. And so the way I didn't actually look at how it was set up, but I assumed that you would have like a really heavily armored cab and engine, and you just drive around and say, hey, if you killed somebody, throw them on the back here. We're not getting out. There's no way we're getting out. But
yeah, you can be the one that puts it there.
That didn't take me. I actually thought about like, yeah, that's kind of, I had the opposite reaction. I thought that was a good idea, Tony. I thought that like, yeah, you know what? In this situation, I probably would, that'd be a good service to have. But
this is a movie that's kind of been parodied a little bit recently. I've seen it in a lot of bits on like, not SNL, but a lot of things that are on YouTube. People make fun of this. Just the premise. And then Rick and Morty did an excellent episode on it.
Well, Rick and Morty does an excellent episode on a lot of things, Tony. But yes, you're not wrong. My main criticism of this movie is sort of that, and I think it might be a strength as well, but it's really simplistic. Not like to the point of being stupid, I don't think, but it definitely doesn't go into any gray areas of politics at all until the very end, which we've agreed that I'll cut and not spoil. But the very end kind of hints at where you could go with the Purge 4 and what would happen in this world in real life. But it sort of feels like, hey, the Purge is bad, let's get rid of it, which it is. I mean, granted, the Purge is bad, but it sort of has this the sort of noble, like, you know, all of the black characters are these noble, like, people trying to defend their businesses and their families and their jobs, which is great. I don't want to be like there are some people in some gangs, and they didn't like well, I mean, I guess they talk about they get in fights, they sort of meet up with some gangs, but the gang people aren't, they're just purging like everybody else. You don't see anybody doing anything particularly bad. The white power guys who make up the group who's trying to take out the senator never do anything white powery. They've
got the tattoos, they've got the iconography. They literally have a sticker on the back of their armor that says white power.
But they meet like countless black folk in this movie, like a lot of them, and they're never rude to them or like say anything about them being black or anything. They're just like, we're just here to do a job.
Yeah, you were talking about that, how like this movie avoids using the N-word, like how it just doesn't feel quite natural until they like sort of shoehorn it in, and it highlights the fact that nobody was talking with that, and it felt a little bit odd.
Well, maybe I'm wrong here, and I'm not going to use it. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing it in a script or something, but I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing in the massive amounts of profanity that they throw into the script either. So, people are very vulgar in this movie, but for some reason the N-word is like, whoa. we'll have a black dude talking to another black dude, and he's like, my Negro, what's up? And I'm like, that just doesn't ring true. And then you have white power meeting black people, and they also don't use it as an insult. And it felt like a weird omission. I feel odd complaining about the lack of use of the N-word in this movie, but it felt a little bit jarring to me in the context of a movie that isn't afraid to go anywhere else. But there it sort of pulls back a little bit.
Yeah, it's odd lines that it decided to draw.
But I thought that it was, I thought this movie was a little bit brilliant. In the end, I felt like that, again, I don't want to spoil how it ends, but it really touched a stone. It worked for me. That's what I'm trying to say. The ending really hung together in a way that it was a hopeful ending. It was hopeful for humanity. It was about, forgiveness and, that violence isn't the answer, and that working out your rage is not what ultimately works. And that could have been so easily butchered. I mean, 99% of the time, if you make a Hollywood movie about how it's cool to murder people one night out of the year, you're going to be glorifying that violence and saying, having the good guys at the end mowing down the bad guys in a blaze of glory, and they don't go that way.
It's actually one of the main themes of the first Purge movie. I don't know if they carry that into the second, but as far as people deciding when to purge whenever they have the opportunity to, and deciding against it whenever they're in the righteous situation, that's kind of a big thing in this. And
so, yeah, I felt really, I don't know, it was touching in a way. That sounds like an odd thing to say. I don't, it's a little bit of a silly movie. It's a little bit over the top. It's a little bit simplistic, but it has real things to say about humanity and real things to say about people who are poor in our society, and dealing with the things that the rich foist upon them. Not exactly at this level, but there definitely are people who are living sort of in the world that the rich have created. And I mean, violence in the lower class does exist with or without the purge. And this just felt like a really good reminder of that in a movie that is very much, I think, it's going to appeal to, I think, a mass audience, especially of genre horror fans and action fans. Kind of crosses those boundaries pretty brilliantly. And to put a message about, sort of the plight of the lower class, and, this idea of trying to change things and make things better for them in a movie that is advertised as like this sort of big action horror gore extravaganza. I love that. I love when a movie can appeal to a mass audience and yet have, something to say that hopefully some of them will take away and make them think a little bit more.
Is this the reaction you expected to have at all going into The Purge? Like, you hadn't seen it. You've probably read about it or seen Nostalgia Critic talk about it, but Like,
I haven't seen any Nostalgia Critic stuff. I've read some things and I've heard people reference it, but I don't think so. I mean, I didn't love the movie. I don't want to like oversell that. I thought like, this was the greatest movie that I've seen this year. You know, it was an amazing blend of pulp and heart. And there aren't enough pulpy movies that do that. While it was not perfect, and I would not give it, 5 stars, I'd give it like 3.5. I'm really impressed with what it did get right, with where it did go right with the story, with where it did go right with its sort of themes, and it worked better than so many other throwaway sort of movies that I've seen recently. I just watched Inferno. Which
I'm looking forward to reading the rundown on that based on your reaction in some of the meetings we've had recently.
That was so dumb. It was so dumb. And they didn't, that might even be a spoiler for people who read the book. I won't even talk about whether it's like the book or not, but.
Are you saying that this didn't touch as many stones as the Purge did?
It doesn't touch any stones, Tony, which is weird because there were a lot of stones for it to touch. They're running all over stones in that movie.
Yeah, it's in like Europe. It's all sorts of stones.
It's just the worst. Like the plot, I almost wrote the rundown in the style of a conversation of one character explaining to another character what had been going on. It would have gotten so spoilery though, and I didn't want to do that with the review, but there is a version of that that's just like one guy saying like, okay, this was real and this person was faking this, but then they weren't faking it later and I was helping the other guy, but now I'm helping you. And it's just like that. Oh, it's way more convoluted than it needs to be and doesn't have a point to make about anything. It talks about overpopulation ad nauseum, Tony. Like, overpopulation is the point of the movie, right? Like, we got all this overpopulation happening, and we like the bad guy billionaire has created a virus to wipe out half the Earth's population so that the overpopulation won't be a big problem. And then the movie never addresses that. It doesn't say no, overpopulation's not a thing. It doesn't say, wow, yeah, overpopulation's a thing. It just sort of like shows a bunch of clips of the guy talking about it, and then the movie's over. And yeah, I was angry. I just also, there's a lot of ridiculous things. They keep saying the word seek and find, which if you're listening is sort of like annoyed by the movie already and kind of like maybe tuned it out, it sounds like the word see confined, like the word see and then confined.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Like legit, like the first 2 or 3 times I said it, I was like, why are they saying see confined? What does that mean? And they, I didn't get it. And then they also talk about a Faraday pointer, which is just a shake light. It's just a shake light, you guys. I understand that Faraday did develop that idea of using the cylinder passing through the coil to generate electricity. It's a shake light. We have a word for it.
You also have a shake weight if you want to get in shape without causing all the light. Faraday would be proud.
It's just that movie was, I mean, and it was weird too because Tom Hanks put in a really, really good performance, especially towards the beginning. He plays a guy who's Professor Langdon, the main character, who's coming out of amnesia, and he does an amazing job of like being, sort of out of it and like delivering these lines about, like losing words, where he's like, I want the stuff that you drink in the morning and it's brown and people drink it, it's hot. And she's like, coffee? And he's like, no, wait, yeah, no. Yeah, coffee. Or she says tea. And then he says, yeah, no, coffee. Like he finally finds the word. And I thought like all of that was really well done, but his character has nothing else to do beyond kind of be disoriented at that point. Really, really disappointing.
Yeah, I remember I picked up that book while I was on lunch. I was just sitting in King Soopers reading while I was eating lunch, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this book." I enjoyed Angels and Demons. I liked the Da Vinci Code, and I got about like 4 pages in, and I was like, "Wow, this just isn't gonna work for me." I just saved like $7.
I read. So when Da Vinci Code was big, I read Da Vinci Code, and I dug it. I dug it a lot. I'm gonna push this in. I don't know if that's been my shot or not. Really, really enjoyed Da Vinci Code. You guys can give me your crap all you want. I thought it really worked as a pulp, fun chase type novel.
It definitely did. That was my favorite part of it. It was just a good thriller. Like,
Right.
just don't take it so serious that it makes you like hate the Catholic Church more or whatever. Like, I've had some people that got weird about that afterwards.
Something I mentioned in the review also. I was like, he does all this in the first Da Vinci Code, or in the movie anyway. I think the Angels and Demons in the book series is a prequel to Da Vinci Code, but in the movies,
I believe you're right.
I think Angels and Demons takes place after, and the Catholic Church is just fine in Angels and Demons. It's like, well, we found out Jesus had kids. Nothing bad happened. Nobody left the Catholic Church. There were zero ramifications. Moving on.
It's kind of interesting. There is a group of people in France that claim they are of the Merovingian line and still around. Just kind of waiting to be like proven that they are the descendants of Christ.
As soon as we find that Jesus DNA,
Yeah.
we'll be good.
Better get that Shroud of Turin and hope that like some spittle stayed good over centuries, millennia.
But I forgot where I was going with that. It was a bad movie. It was not good. Oh, Dan Brown. So then I've read all of his other non-Da Vinci Code books. I read Deception Point, and I forget the name of the other one. I enjoyed them. They were dumb, but I enjoyed them. And then I read Angels and Demons, and I got about a chapter or two in, and they started talking about creating matter with the particle accelerator, or creating energy or whatever it was. They just like
Creating
so angry.
antimatter or whatever and obliviating it.
I got so angry about that. I was like, this is not how any of this works.
You're saying you didn't go to CERN and talk to a bunch of people and get like real consultants in on the science of his like thriller novel?
The thing is, I bet that he went to CERN. I bet that
Yeah,
he
he's got
did.
the
I just
budget
don't think
for
he
it.
understands science.
And he's making that the people that are buying his books don't really care that much.
It was a very broad. The thing is, like, he had some stuff that was kind of right too. It was like, you can tell that he researched. He just didn't research a lot. He just got to a point where it's like, all right, I can use this for a plot point, and then put the book down and just started writing. So that was when I got off the Dan Brown book train, and I never did pick up Inferno. But I want to read the original sometime.
The Da Vinci
Dante
Code?
Alighieri.
Oh.
No, the Inferno. I have it here on my shelf.
It's a little heavy. Take some time. Just all the flowery language.
We always have this issue with translations, is I don't know which translation to use. I've got the one here by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Hard to say Wadsworth anyway. Yeah. I don't know if that's the most clear one, and I'm not going to learn how to read Italian to figure out how to read the Inferno. So
Yeah, and it's also ancient Italian, isn't it?
it's not new. I mean,
So-
Dante Alighieri, kind of an old dude, kind of back around in the old days.
Yeah, I don't even know what century he's in.
This is a translation. The Wadsworth one is because it was like the cheap one, and that Barnes and Noble sells them for like $5. So it's one of those books. Speaking of politics, did you read up on any of the stuff that's been happening in Korea lately?
I've seen a few headlines, but I haven't read that far into it. That like Kim Jong-un's wife hasn't been seen for like 7 months, and all
No,
these
no,
other
no.
things.
Not that Korea.
Oh,
Not North Korea.
I thought you were talking about best Korea.
No, we're talking about the bad Korea and the actual bad problems that they've been having over there.
Did you
We
just
can
say
talk
South
about
was
the
the
North
bad
Koreans in a minute. What?
You just said that South Korea was the bad Korea.
Well, you said best Korea.
Oh, it doesn't
We're gonna
mean
call
the
them good
South is
Korea?
bad.
Better
Maybe
Korea?
It's just gonna be annexed for the people.
Okay. No, there was this big revelation that the current president of South Korea is being controlled by this woman who is literally a shaman, and who is the head of this like 8 oligarch panel made up of all women who have been apparently controlling politics and the decisions South Korea makes for like, I don't know how many years. It's been a while though.
That's insane. I mean, you had like Ronald Reagan going to a psychic a lot, but that's a lot different than a shaman, like a cabal of shamans controlling your government.
Right, it's like literal David Hickey stuff. When I saw it, I tweeted out, I said, so wait a minute, are the lizard people real too now? Because it feels like the plot of stupid movie. Not
So,
only,
like, what's the evidence that this is actually happening?
I mean, I have not seen it for myself personally, but there's a lot of people reporting it as true.
Well, I don't think you would go to Korea to confirm this, but I'm just wondering what the news sources are actually saying about it. Like, what sort of things are they controlling? Are they just using this council to be like, all right, this is what you need to affect change in?
Here, okay, I'm going to read this bit that I think is relevant here. I'm sort of pulling up articles on the fly. Choi, the daughter of a leader of a controversial religious sect, has been at the center of a scandal rocking South Korea since last week, when President Park admitted after weeks of speculation that Choi had edited some of her speeches and provided help with public relations. The relationship between the Park and Choi families dates back to the 1970s, as the New York Times reported last week. Then there's a lot of the same information there. Speculation and outrage about the nature and relationship between the younger Miss Choi and Park first surfaced amid protests and allegations from students at a prestigious women's college in Seoul that Choi had used their connections to the president to get her daughter admitted into the school. And they've unearthed this more information about this, that they're like really strong ties and that the Choi lady has been telling the president what to do.
It's so weird. And fascinating and kind of awesome.
And I don't know what exactly the religious sect that she's a member of is, but people have been comparing it to like if Barack Obama was receiving orders from the leader of Scientology.
I think it would be more like he goes to like the Santeria people. They're like sacrificing goats in the White House.
But he's not a Muslim. We're not saying that.
No, not a Muslim. He's a Scientologist.
That would be wrong.
That would be such a weird rumor to start. Like, just imagine the president being a Scientologist. I've only had like a few weird dealings with Scientologists. Like, it's nothing that...
I could buy that Donald Trump was a Scientologist secretly.
There's a lot of things about Trump I could buy secretly.
That's the other thing. And we're still in the David Icke world where, like, is this really happening? We really have to choose between Trump and Clinton in like 7 days from when we're recording this.
Oh, joy.
And Russia's on the move now. They're all like shaking their bars and like, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to be strong again. Like,
it's like the USSR is coming back.
I don't want these people. I don't want any of this. I don't want any of these things to happen.
The leader you want, like on the nuclear football, when the USSR type situation comes back, the guy you want that's level-headed for the Cold War is either like Clinton, the psychopath, or Trump, the complete psycho.
I keep going back to the idea that maybe a psychopath is a good leader.
Yeah, I mean, there is that idea, like that. Like, there's a saying that psychopaths make the world go round. That a lot of them are the most like innovative people. They're a lot more risk. They're not afraid of risk. They're going to try more things, and not all of them are going to be like Hannibal Lecter, eat your family types.
It's just.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Clinton to like be secretly eating kidneys, but
I'm not worried about that. I just.
Like slurping the spinal fluid out of aborted fetuses.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't want to go to war with Russia, which is a problem, because if you're going to stop Russia, you got to be able to stand up to them. It's just a bad time. It's just a bad political time. Even if we weren't voting for president, it feels like some bad stuff going down.
It definitely does. It's a weird time. It's that whole like, may you live in interesting times type quote, but it's also like, these are a little too interesting for me right now. Can we just tone it back? Like the 90s were pretty interesting and fun too.
I had some personal interesting times recently. We went out camping in our backyard last week, as sometimes we do. We put up the tent, which reminds me I need to take it down. It's been up for a week now. We put up our tent in the backyard and sort of did a campfire, and it was on Saturday night. And the campfire we put together, it was, it had burned down. And on Saturday night, I was laying there in bed. It was like 9 o'clock. Not in bed, but like in my tent bed. And I was thinking about it, I was like, I didn't put the fire out. It's just coals at this point. It's fine. It'll be fine, right? And then I woke up in the morning and it was fine. So I woke up in the morning, nothing had burned down. The house was fine. The grass, nothing was on fire. And I was like, okay, cool. It burned itself out. And I thought about it a little bit later during the day. I was like, I didn't put water on it, but it's been a while. It's probably okay. It's okay, right? Yeah, it's okay. fast forward to Tuesday when I decide to go and play with the kids in the yard, and they like to play barefoot. AJ goes running around the yard barefoot, and he comes to me and he's like, Daddy, my feet are hot. My feet, they got burned. Those coals that I failed to put out were still not just warm, but relatively hot. Like, they weren't glowing coals. Like, he just
Not
had a
quite
little
smoldering.
blister. Yeah. But he got blistered on his feet because they were still hot after 4 days.
That's
So
crazy.
this is a PSA from me to you. Put the fire out, you guys. Don't be stupid like me. You might not be as lucky and get away with just small little blistered feet. Something bad could happen. Put water on it. Don't bury it. Put it out for real.
It's amazing how our minds rationalize laziness sometimes. It's like, oh, it's going to be okay. Like, that can't happen to me. And then all of a sudden it does.
Yeah. It was weird. It was very weird. And it's amazing how, like, when you leave it burning for that long, how much, like, there's just nothing left. Everything burns down to just ashes, which is sort of, you're not used to that. You know, you're used to sort of like having charred logs and sticks and little bits of stuff left in there. And it was nothing. It was just white powder left in that thing.
Al, I just sent you a picture through Skype. I need you to
Picture
look at
through
this.
Skype. I'm opening it now.
And this will be on the podcast on
Alright.
YouTube.
Let's talk about dildos.
During the Patriots and Bills game this weekend, a fan randomly threw a pretty good sized dildo onto the field, just like flopped it out there. And
I don't know. It doesn't look that big.
I'm just
I don't
saying,
feel
like,
intimidated by that.
it's like you're still like bringing that into the stadium.
It's not black.
It's like it's friendly and white. It's like the Game of Thrones ones. They're non-threatening.
Yeah, they're all diseased and everything too in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
This is a tiny tangent that I'm going to take right here. I read an interesting article about like the last taboo is showing like black dudes naked. It's like, no, we can show people being sexy, but black dudes, that's black penis we can't handle as a society.
Westworld this week decided that they were okay with that.
I can't watch it right now. I'm so mad. I don't have HBO. I will have to wait until it's out for people that like me.
Well, they definitely weren't afraid to show that.
Okay. Now I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled for episode 5 of Black. I'll be like, where's that black dick? I need some black penis in my life.
You won't miss it. Believe me, you will not miss it. That episode actually goes like full Game of Thrones. There's like orgies happening and all sorts of stuff. It's getting weird. Westworld is so good though. Anyway, back to this game where you just see this, like, I was watching live and I was like, that wasn't a flag. And that actually was exactly what the announcer said. He was like, well, we definitely know that's not a flag. And then all of a sudden they're like cutting to every screen but that little section. But I was able to find some footage from people in the audience that were filming that where the refs were like afraid to touch it. Like they were all standing around it and just like kicking it with their toes. And
I saw this. I did not click on it, but I saw the footage of the there was a link because I was doing research for stuff for the podcast on Reddit, and I was like, what's in the news of the weird thing? And which is I think they call it odd something.
I've got a offbeat subreddit I sometimes pull stuff
Offbeat.
from.
That's what it is. Offbeat. And they had a video of that where they were like, referee awkwardly tries to kick dildo off a field. Oh, here it is, Matt from Mashable. Watch an NFL official awkwardly kick a dildo off a field. Oh, this is a much better picture on here too. Look, it's got like the inflamed head there, and
yeah, it's like
some,
it's
like,
actual high
striations.
quality instead of just a picture of someone pausing their DVR.
Was that what you had? Or
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say somebody must be able to.
They had some CSI level enhance.
I'm watching. All right. I'm watching here. We're in this dildo. There's the dildo. They're all walking past it. The guys that don't even notice it, and then the ref is like, what? Wait, do you see that, Bob? Do you see that? Yeah, I see that. Let's pretend we don't see it. No, it's there. Okay. Wow, I didn't kick it off. Okay, here we go. And they just kick it back to the fans, which I love that, like, some fan picks it up. He's like, all right, free dildo.
It's like, I'm either going to use this or I'm going to sell it on eBay. Like, the angle that I saw it thrown at suggested that it was actually somebody on the sideline rather than someone in the audience. That was the weird thing to me. Like, it was not like a huge long throw. It was just kind of a lob.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that sentence.
So, like, you got to think about this, though. Somebody, while they were packing, they either, like, recently got back from a trip and they just packed their bag and they realized that they left their latex dildo in there and decided while they were there and threw
that, like,
it.
the dildo was completely unrelated to the game? They were just like, oh no, dildo! Chuck!
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering, like, what happened there, because I've accidentally brought stuff into a stadium before that I didn't realize. Like, whenever I accidentally smuggled my dad's weed into the stadium. That was
also not where
odd.
I was hoping that sentence was going. But okay.
Like, I just remember, like, they're all like, oh, where's the bowl at? And, like, they're trying to figure out, like, who's got it. And then all of a sudden they're like, check the backpack. And, like, the whole time, this was way before it was legal. I was, like, maybe 13 at the time. And, like, they're just like, oh, you brought it into the stadium. That's great. It was, like, post 9/11, so they were searching bags and they just didn't happen to search that pocket. That would have been so much fun getting arrested back then.
Well, if you're 13, you probably wouldn't, like, it wouldn't go on your, well, I mean, I guess it would go on your permanent record, but, like, it would ruin your life.
I wouldn't be too worried about, like, a possession when I'm 13, like, keeping me from getting jobs and things like that. But it would have just been one of those things where I didn't know I was carrying it.
Yeah.
So, like, all of a sudden being, like, brought to security for it would have just been a bad time. But as, like, we continue with that, like, I'm thinking about this person who either had the very specific intent the morning that they left the stadium of throwing that on the field, or if it just accidentally happened, or what the scenario is that leads to them in that moment deciding that on that perfect sideline when a play is coming their way, they're just going to rip the dildo out of their bag and toss it on national television.
The timing of it does suggest, as fun as it is to imagine that you would have, you know, somebody just, like, accidentally have a dildo and be like, gotta get rid of this! The timing does suggest that it was planned. It feels like such a weird thing to do, though. Like who is that even against? You throw the dildo, like, which team are you protesting or cheering for with that?
I mean, if you're going by mascots, Patriots at least probably have cocks that look like that. Buffalo do not.
Are you also positing a possible alternate future or reality where
someone threw a buffalo-shaped dildo on the field? I mean, it's possible. I mean, you can go on Amazon right now and get, like, dog and cow-shaped ones.
I know. I believe you, Tony. I can't go on Amazon right now and do that.
Oh, you could. You just won't. You don't want that in your search history.
No, I don't.
Just your wife gets on the computer and she's like, what are these recommended results?
That's what incognito is for, Tony.
Never do it while logged in.
The other bit of news that came down today, very important news. Gerard Butler news, Tony.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to be starring, you know that we had Olympus Has Fallen, the movie where he defends the White House from terrorists.
And then
saves
London
the
has
president's
fallen.
life. What?
And then London has fallen.
And then London has fallen. Well, they've made a sequel, a third movie in this Has Fallen trilogy, Angel Has Fallen.
Please say it goes full supernatural and that, like, demons are trying to kill the president.
That's what I want so bad. Okay, that would be the best. I didn't actually finish watching London Has Fallen. However, if Gerard Butler died in that and then came back, like, from heaven to rescue the president, that's what I want. I want that a lot.
I want it too. I didn't know I wanted that until just now. Like, I really, like, you almost could just call Ash from The Evil Dead and have him protect the president.
Well, so, like, if there's a zombie thing or something, like, or a demon uprising. I haven't watched The Evil Dead show, so I don't know how far the mythology goes in that. What the Deadites can do.
He's ready. He's a bad enough dude to protect the president. He is like Duke Nukem.
Unfortunately, Tony, I think our version is not what they're going with, because I've read several people mention that Angel is a code name for the Air Force One, and we're gonna get a movie where the president crashes and somebody has to protect him from terrorists after his Air Force One crashes. And we already have that movie, Tony.
Yeah, it's called Big Game.
It is called Big Game. It's the best.
How
dare
Air
you.
Force One.
How dare you try to replace Awesome Finnish Kid with Gerard Butler? Gerard Butler's cool. He's not the coolest Finnish kid with a bow.
Finnish kid with a bow who was mostly afraid to use it.
When are those guys going to make another movie, by the way?
I have no idea. I don't follow Finnish movie news.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking it up. Big Game, 2014 movie. Director Jamail Helander. Where's he at? What's he doing next?
They should totally get him to do that movie because he already did like the Krampus thing or the crazy giant Santa. Like he could do demon stuff against the president.
He's not working on anything. Why aren't you working on anything, Jalmai? Jalmari? Whatever your name is? Like, we need more Finnish kid. Maybe the Finnish kid's in something else.
Maybe it just doesn't update as quickly over there on IMDb, where every like production that's in
international movie database, Tony. International.
I'm just saying they still have to submit it. They got to get publicists involved and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
He might just ninja something out there, all like 10 Cloverfield Lane style. For those of you that didn't watch it, Big Game is an awesome Finnish movie with Samuel L. Jackson being protected by like a 10 or 12-year-old after Air Force One is brought down, or he's ejected from Air Force One. It's a fun little like terrorist-style movie, and it was actually a really awesome action movie.
I was checking it on Netflix. It's not available on Netflix, unfortunately. So
most of it's in English, too, so you don't have to read too many subtitles.
I think that's it for this week, Tony. I don't have anything else. Do you have any other notes that you wanted to bring up?
No, my sticky note read about South Korean shamans and dildos on fields. So I think we covered both of those points.
You did bring up the North Korea thing, which I guess I wanted to circle back to. Kim Jong-il's wife, or Kim Jong-un's wife, hasn't been seen for like 7 months.
Yeah.
Speculation is she's either dead or pregnant. Possibly the same thing. No, life does not end at pregnancy. But
it ends at birth.
I did like the idea. People were speculating that maybe they're hiding her because she got pregnant and they don't want to risk, if there's a miscarriage or something, they don't want to risk him looking bad and losing face in front of his people, which seemed like the most, I mean, not reasonable, but it
seems plausible.
Within their logic, it seems more likely than him I just killed my wife for no reason. I think he can probably, that makes more, that's what I want it to be, Tony. So.
Yeah,
anyway.
I hope so too. Like, because she seems like she's just kind of an innocent caught up in all this.
The other thing, speaking of people controlling, the other thing that I saw in that particular thread about his wife going missing was that there is a theory that Kim Jong-un's sister runs a lot of stuff in North Korea, which I love the sort of weird world we're in where like these two nations have these like really powerful women that are pulling strings behind the scenes to keep things moving. It's sort of an interesting.
That's the opposite of the Mad Monk.
It's a Quentin Tarantino movie. This is like Quentin Tarantino. Where are you at, man? We need a movie about this. These 8 oligarchs and their swords.
So they're pulling a Cersei right now.
Yes. But that'll do it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. If you're over on the YouTube side. And thank you for making it through this episode. I know it was a real chore. Just
as always,
through.
Just like, I don't know how you guys ever make it to this point. Like, all the reviews that we've ever gotten are like 5 stars and incredibly kind and all that. But, you know, sometimes an hour listening to just Al and I talk is so rough. But thank you guys for listening. We really, really do appreciate it. Thank you for being members of the podcast. Those of you that are already doing that, you guys are keeping this thing afloat. You guys are keeping us moving, creating awesome content, watching us spurt out videos, giving the bonus podcast, all that. If you want to become a member, go to humanechoes.com. $2, $5, $10, $20. Any level gets you the bonus podcast. Bonus levels after the $2 get you postcards and stickers and pins and all sorts of other stuff. So click that link on the website, humanechoes.com. Check out the different options for becoming a member. Also, if you want to support the podcast without having to spend anything extra, if you click on our Amazon links on the right-hand side of the site or sometimes embedded in the posts, anything you buy, we will get a nice little 6 to 8% cut of, and that helps us out a lot. There's a lot of you buying office supplies. That's awesome. There's a lot of you buying like all of your college books. There's some really interesting purchases that go in there. We don't see who it is. So if you want to buy a dildo to throw at your favorite sports team, we'll just see that it was purchased, not who purchased it. So hope you guys have an awesome week. We will be back with, what is it?
It is a movie that just hit Netflix. I went on last night. We're recording this on the 1st of November. I went on yesterday. I was like, is there some Halloween stuff I can watch? And they had top of the list a movie called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. It's a sort of a atmospheric, arguably horror movie. I have not watched the whole thing yet, but I've read some reviews and things, and it's not going to be a lot of jump scares. It might be relatively slow. It's definitely artsy from what I've seen. So if that sounds like your thing, give it a watch. It's on Netflix. If not, we'll be talking about it next week anyway.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.